setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. Thanks for joining me. Podcasts are fun. I love doing my podcast. Except when I have to talk about taxes. But I will, because I am a tax guy, trained as a tax guy. So, the majority of Americans in the past few years, even today, think it's great to file by efile because you think you can get your tax return, the tax refunds quicker and faster and zoom it into your bank accounts. However, this year, because of the coronavirus, it has infected the tax process. So a majority of Americans, that's you and me, choose to file our tax returns electronically each year, but due to a glitch in the IRS system related to the coronavirus stimulus check, some of you are going to have to file a paper return. The tax filing deadline, which is tomorrow, April 15th, it has been extended 3 months by the Internal Revenue Service and by the White House. So July 15th is tomorrow as a result of the virus pandemic, and it's fast approaching, which is just a few more hours. And hopefully you guys have all filed by now. But I know some of you haven't. But some Americans are discovering that they have no choice but to file a paper return for 2019, a bug caused by their use of the NonFilers tool on the Internal Revenue Service's website. So if you went on and you had to file for NonFilers tool on that, it has affected how you're filing your e-file, and you're going to have to file a paper return. The IRS created the tool earlier this year so that low-income people, homeless people, and others who aren't required to file a tax return could provide the IRS with the address or direct deposit information in order to receive the stimulus money. Part of the $2.2 trillion CARES Act, which was signed into law at the end of March. We all remember that. We were all waiting for that $1,200 or $600 or whatever it was to come into our bank accounts. The non-filing tool is intended for couples who earn less than $24,000 and individuals who earn less than $12,000, as well as those who are homeless. They have nothing. The IRS said that individuals who plan to file a 2019 return should not use the tool, warning that it could slow down the process of the tax return and distribution of a refund if you think you're going to get a refund in 2019. However, there's always a however to everything, right? Some people who are regular tax filers use the non-filers tool to obtain the cash payment up to $1,200. And that was for Americans earning less than $99,000. And some trouble in trying to enter their information via the Get My Payment tool, and now are running into issues as they try to file the returns ahead of the July 15th deadline. One individual told the Detroit Free Press that the Get My Payment tool kept telling him that he did not qualify, or his information was not available for the stimulus payment, which he knew was incorrect. He then used the non-filers tool to enter the information. However, the IRS is now treating his information entered through the non-filers tool. So, in other words, he was trying to jump the gun. He wanted to get his $1,200, so he did the non-filing tool. So he filed a tax return. So now he's trying to file his real tax return, but it won't accept it. E-filing. That's what happens when you get greedy and you try to jump ahead of the system. So the IRS is now treating his information entered through the non-filers tool as his return and is rejecting his attempt to file an electronic return. If you use the IRS non-filer tool or filed a return with $0 or $1 of income, then you need to file a new tax return by U.S. mail instead of electronically. It won't accept it electronically. It's almost like somebody, I remember when we were going through this, people getting their identification stolen, and we couldn't file the tax returns because somebody else had already filed the tax return. Well, it's happening right now with this situation. If you use that Get My Payment tool on the Internal Revenue website, and I know that a lot of you did it. So you're going to have to file a paper return if you use that tool. Now, if you are doing that if you did use that tool, and if you are filing a tax return and trying to file it e-file, don't. You have to file it on a paper return, and it's due tomorrow, July 15th. So you have to file a paper return. It's amazing, right? I mean, here we have a good deed of the United States government. And I don't think we ever thought the process through of what happens if people do this. What happens if people go online, use that tool to check their refunds, and then they have to file a automatic return in order to qualify for the $1,200. But then no one thought the process through. Oh, you know what? He already filed a tax return. Now he's going to have to file a paper return. And we want government in charge of our healthcare system. Nope, it's not going to happen with me. I'm sorry. I've been dealing with the government for so long. And a lot of taxpayers have really good intentions of paying things in advance, but it goes into the wrong account, and then the IRS will not make any changes to move it over to another account. I mean, it becomes a very tedious situation if you try to do something right, but you actually did it wrong because we didn't know the process was going to also stimulate other problems. It's amazing. I think about this every single time, and I'm always concerned about e-file anyway. I have my doubts that e-file is really the safest way, because somehow people are getting other people's information. Or have been anyway. So that is one of the things that, you know, the government was trying to do something good, but they just didn't think it through to the next step. Government. Now, I want to talk about 2019 tax returns. I've had a lot of complaints from a lot of people who have complained about, how come I'm losing all of these deductions? You lost those deductions last year. I have spent, last year I remember when the Tax Reform Act took place and went into effect. And a lot of these deductions were gone. I literally had to take my computer screen and turn it around so I could explain to them line by line how it was working. Then I took them to the Schedule A of itemized deductions and showed them, these are everything that you have lost. You no longer have those deductions any longer. And they would sit there and they were amazed, and they said, our accountants have never told us this before. They've never sat down with us and explained how the tax system flows through. So that's my point for you today. I want you to sit down with your tax accountant and have him explain exactly how your tax return flows through. You had this much income, you had a standard deduction, or were you allowed to itemize? And what allowed you to itemize? What made you, in other words, you have to go over that standard deduction in order to do itemization. So, as an example, if your standard deduction is $10,000 on your itemized deductions, you've got to go over that $10,000 in order to qualify for Schedule B. Itemized deductions. But people don't understand that because the accountants aren't taking the time to go through that process. I'm so happy when I have a client that catches a mistake I made. I had a client contact me 2 days ago and said, "Hey, where's our third child?" I said, "Well, you never told me you had a third child. Congratulations." You got to be upfront with your tax preparer, and you got to tell them what any changes have happened. And you have to be able to document everything that has happened throughout the year. If you had a child, document it. Where's the Social Security number, the Social Security card, date of birth, child care expenses, etc. You've got to document everything because your accountant needs to know that information. So I am happy when clients catch a mistake I made because they know what to look at. I have trained my clients what to look at. Now, thank God I'm no longer doing that many tax returns anymore. 3 years ago, I had over 3,000 tax clients. And I said, I don't want to do this anymore. This is just too much for me. So over 3 years, I slowly let my clients go, letting them find other people, talking with those other new people, new accountants, and explaining things. I have been doing taxation work since 1984. That's an awful long time. And every time that I say to myself, okay, I want to get out of this because I'm tired. I'm tired of it. But I keep being brought back in because my clients don't want to let me go. And so I keep a few, just a few, because I like these people. They become friends, they become family almost, and I continue to do their tax returns. But there are other people I was happy to get rid of because the complexities changed from year to year. And no matter what you did, there was going to be something that was not caught because there was just too much data going into the tax return. Especially individuals who, at that time, were day trading. And they had all of these reports of everything that they had traded. And those clients, I did not want to see any longer. I like what they're doing. I like the creativity. It's good that they know stocks. I wish I knew. But their tax returns became very complicated. I mean, pages and pages and pages. Sometimes a foot thick of all the trades that they had done. Thank God that the IRS changed the rules a little bit on reporting so that it wasn't quite that difficult any longer. But you had to really read the documentation that was being presented to you by your clients. So I digressed a long way on that. But I want you to understand. Tomorrow is deadline, July 15th. I don't even know if the IRS is making any extensions or not. But listen, tomorrow's the 15th. Get your taxes filed. Some of you may have to file paper returns. And a lot of you need to start planning for 2020. Because we're almost done with 2020. We're halfway through. Can you believe it's July and we're going to July, August, September, October, November, December, 6 more months? And we're back into 2021. Can you believe that we're going to make it to 2021? Preparing 2020 taxes? I remember the day that we were all so scared. What was going to happen in the year 2000? And we were all huddled around our computers. Programmers were working overtime. We were all checking our databases. We were backing everything up because we thought the world was going to end on the year 2000. That was scary, right? Now look where we're at. We're almost at 2021. Halfway through 2020, now we're into 2021. However, if I would have known that 2020 was going to go to hell in a handbasket, I might have held off. Let's just stay in 2019, and we won't call it 2020. We'll just continue calling it in 2019. 2019 was a hell of a year, but 2020 would be good. But we didn't do that. I am glad that we've made it this far. We made it at the end of the world. I want to tell you, there was that other day too. Remember when they were predicting the end of the world of the Mayan calendar? I was in Mexico City on a Mayan ruin at the very top on the day was ending. Oh, the world was ending, I mean. I was up in Mexico City, outside of Mexico City, up on this Mayan ruin, and there were people, and they had their crystals, and they were chanting, and they were they were doing everything. And then that day went, and they all came climbing down. Nothing happened. So, tomorrow, July 15th, is your end of the world. Tax day. Get it done. Don't complain. If you have any questions, send me a text at 818-252-5682. Again, 818-252-5682. Some of you may have to file the paper return. Talk to your accountants if you haven't filed your tax return already. But get it done because tomorrow's the deadline. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon. And everybody, happy IRS Day in advance. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast is produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.